hope this came across in a way like it was just two friends having coffee and just talking about the journey of breastfeeding. So yes, I'm going to mention products that are very helpful, but really I want this to be more about like moments and hiccups in our journey that I didn't expect and I didn't know anything about. Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about breastfeeding. So I filmed a Q&A video a couple of weeks ago and I got quite a few questions about breastfeeding and just our journey, things that I wish I knew, just all sorts of questions about breastfeeding, and I'm going to be filming a video all about that today. So my hope with this video is just to share things that I wish I would have known as a first-time mom entering into my breastfeeding journey. I feel like there are a lot of videos about products to use. Like, I feel like every mom who has a desire to breastfeed knows like, oh, the Haka pump is really good. So yes, I'm going to mention products that are very helpful, but really I want this to be more about like moments and hiccups in our journey that I didn't expect and I didn't know anything about. For example, a nursing strike. Your baby might go through a nursing strike. I had never even heard of a nursing strike before. And so moments like that are a little bit more, I feel like, not talked about, or just like I just didn't know about them. So this is going to be more of a what I wish I knew before breastfeeding. Mostly I want to share just like the ups and downs that we have had so far in our breastfeeding journey and what we did to overcome them and what I wish I would have known. So a little background on me if you are new here. I am a first-time mama to a sweet little girl. She's almost 6 months old, which is just bizarre. 6 months old just seems so old. And my original goal with breastfeeding was to make it 6 months. That was just my goal, and now we're almost there, which I'm so excited and grateful for. We'll see if we can make it to a year. That'd be amazing, but I'm also very proud of the fact that we have made it 6 months, and I'm excited to just share what I've learned in those 6 months so far. Before I get into this video, I just want to disclaim that this video is not saying like if you cannot breastfeed, if you choose not to breastfeed, if you pump, like anything, as long as your baby is fed, that is literally all that matters. This is just to share our journey and some of the hiccups along the way that have been very difficult for us, and just things that I wish I knew, just for moms that maybe are going through similar things. They have new ideas on what to try, or just as an encouragement for mamas that maybe are going through something that I have also gone through, and we can find solidarity in that, just as an encouragement hopefully, and just to share things that may happen along your journey. And let's go ahead and get into this video. So I feel like the easiest way for me to go about what I wish I knew is to kind of go in chronological order throughout our breastfeeding journey. So as I said, I have a 6-month-old. So when Nora, my daughter, was born in March, she was born, and then I think within like an hour she wanted to eat. If you have never breastfed before, this can be a little bit intimidating. I honestly was kind of nervous about how it would feel. I didn't know if it would hurt. I didn't know if it would feel very uncomfortable, and she did struggle a little bit to latch. So it can be pretty common that it might take you a little bit to get baby to latch, but hopefully your doctor or your nurse. I had a midwife. I delivered my baby at home. She is a certified lactation consultant, and so that's very helpful as you're entering into a breastfeeding journey, to have someone that is a lactation consultant in your corner to help you with your breastfeeding journey. So before she left my house when Nora was born, she made sure that she was latching really good and that she was eating and all of that, and so we were off to a good start. When your milk comes in, oh my gosh, it is just crazy. It feels like you had a boob job, or at least for me, my boobs like super grew. It was just insane. It was crazy. But I promise it will not be like that forever. But you may feel very engorged, and that is something that I was not expecting. It can be pretty painful. It was sometimes for me, even though I was nursing on demand all of the time. I did deal with some engorgement, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically where your breasts feel like they are so full, and they can feel very hard, they can be very uncomfortable, they can leak everywhere. And I personally loved using the bamboo reusable breast pads. I had some disposable ones and I maybe used them one time. Like, I think I reached for them first and I was like, these suck. I did not like them at all. I would really recommend, I think I had the Kindred Bravely ones from Amazon. Those ones are very nice, and they're very soft, and you can just throw them into the wash. Those are amazing. Those are definitely a must-have when you very first start breastfeeding, because you're probably gonna leak everywhere. I definitely ruined a lot of shirts. during the first couple of, honestly, months breastfeeding, just from leakage. So those are really great to have. The Haka pump is really great to have as well, because when you latch your baby on one side, you can put the Haka pump on the other one and it will catch your letdown, and that's how you can build a freezer supply. So we did that. And also I would pump. I know that some people say do not pump, like they swear up and down like do not pump, and that does have some truth in it, because you don't want to get like a super oversupply, which can lead to clogged ducts, which can lead to mastitis. But I would only pump maybe once a day, not even, like just if it was so uncomfortable I just could not do anything about it, I would pump, and I would store that milk in the freezer, and it worked out just fine. I use the Medela hand pump. It's like 20 bucks on Amazon. It is my #1 breastfeeding pump. I have tried electric ones. They don't work as well. This one works great. It's super cheap and it's really easy to use. And so that is the breast pump I have and use and love, and I still use it to this day. So I would use that sometimes. And then also with engorgement, you can release some engorgement in the shower, release some milk if you don't want to pump. You can also use the Haka, and then just feed your baby. So some things we did in the very beginning to help with our breastfeeding supply, breastfeeding journey, is I did a lot of skin to skin in the shower, in the bathtub. I would sit on this chair right here and cuddle Nora when she was so tiny and just like do some skin to skin time. You can also do skin to skin time in like a wrap. If you like have your shirt off, you're just in a bra and your baby is just in their diaper, you can wrap them and hold them there. We did a lot of skin to skin time. I fed completely on demand, so anytime she was crying I would offer her the boob. I also think this also helped her make sure that she was gaining weight, as she should. So Nora was born at 7 pounds exactly. The next morning when the midwife came to check her, she was at like 6 pounds, I want to say 8 or 12 ounces. Like she hadn't lost a ton. So all of that is to say that I do think feeding on demand and just feeding her as much as she wanted to eat really helped make sure that she was gaining weight as she should. So fast forward a month. The first month breastfeeding was good. We didn't really have any problems. I didn't have any clogged ducts. I didn't have any mastitis. So thankful for that. Around the 1 month mark, oh my gosh. Like if I thought Nora nursed a lot prior to that, around the 1 month mark is when babies will go through a growth spurt. Nora wanted to nurse constantly, like 24/7 if she could. Like it was like she just wanted to eat, and I was like going crazy because I couldn't do anything besides just sit in this chair and nurse my baby, which is amazing and beautiful, but also it's hard to take care of yourself, or hard to take a shower, or literally hard to do anything when your baby just wants to nurse all of the time. And I have a friend who is a lactation consultant, and she actually messaged me around the 1 month mark when Nora was turning 1 month, and she was like, hey, your baby might start to nurse like crazy, which she already was. It's because they're going through a growth spurt, and she's trying to make sure that your supply is matching her demands. So make sure that you are feeding her when she wants to eat. And I was like, oh, okay. So if you are a new mama, somewhere around the 1 month mark, between 4 to 6 weeks, your baby's probably going to cluster feed, is what it's called, when they just want to eat all of the time. And that is your baby trying to increase your supply. I saw this thing on Instagram. I wish I would have taken a screenshot, but it was basically like when your baby is cluster feeding, they are placing a to-go order for tomorrow. So like when you place a to-go order on like from a restaurant or whatever, your baby is placing a to-go order for the next day because they need more milk because they are growing, and so they are cluster feeding to increase your supply. And so that is something that I wish I knew. I had no idea about cluster feeding, what the purpose was, why my baby was wanting to do that all of the time. That is why your baby is probably wanting to eat all of the time. They are trying to increase your supply to meet what their body needs. That is what happened around the 1 month mark. It probably let up a couple of days later, maybe a week later, I don't remember, but it was a hard couple of days. Breastfeeding is not easy. Breastfeeding is a full-time job. If you time how many hours you spend breastfeeding, even within like a month or like 6 months or a year, like it is just crazy the amount of hours you put into breastfeeding. I think month 2 also went pretty well. There was a couple of times where Nora started to get fussy at the boob. She started, I think, to prefer the bottle, but at that point I think it was nipple confusion, which if you've never heard of it, it's something that babies can develop where they get confused between like their binky, their bottle, and then mom's boobs. Sometimes something that I've learned is that different bottles react differently to your baby. So for example, we had started off using the Dr. Brown's anti-colic bottles. We noticed when Nora would take those bottles, she would A, get the milk so quickly. B, she would be so gassy after them, which is so funny because they're supposed to be an anti-colic, which not for our baby, they did not work. We ended up buying different bottles. We currently use the Como Tomo bottles on the smallest nipple size. I'll get into that in a second. So just try out different bottles. Notice like how your baby responds to the bottle. So for us with the Dr. Brown's ones, which actually are pretty highly recommended, I'm pretty sure. Pay attention to your baby, watch their cues. If they are really fussy after taking the bottle, then maybe try a different kind because it might not be working for them. So something else to know about our journey is that my baby was very fussy. She was very colicky and very gassy. So we would have to spend like 20 minutes after every feeding burping her. And once we started doing that, because we had talked to her doctor, her pediatrician, and said, we think she is so gassy, we don't know what's going on. She asked us, okay, how long are you spending burping her? Are you getting a burp every single time? And sometimes it would take 20 minutes to get a burp. And in the middle of the night, you don't want to do that, but we had to. And that really did make a huge difference, just spending, you know, after every feeding, like 20 minutes burping her. And it seems excessive, and it is excessive, but it will not last forever, I promise. We do not have to do that now. But for a while, we really had to make sure that we got a burp every single time. And there's a few different techniques to burping. I feel like everyone that I grew up with, like they burped their baby over their shoulder, like my mom, that's how my mom burped her babies and stuff. But you can also sit your baby like on their lap and just straighten their spine and then just lift their heads up, so just so that they are sitting up straight. You know, babies are kind of like this. Just straighten their neck a little bit so that they're sitting up straight. And that was the best way to burp Nora. And that's like how we got burps out 90% of the time, was just straightening her up so that her spine was all aligned and it would help the burp come out. Another thing we did to help with Nora's gassiness was we also took her to a chiropractor. I went to a chiropractor during my pregnancy. That doctor is Webster certified, and so he also would adjust Nora. And I do think that helped as well, just making sure that she was all good to go and aligned in her body. So I would say the first 3 months, products that we used religiously every single day. The Bobby pillow I used every single day to help prop her up while I was feeding her. We also used muslin burp cloths to burp her. They are the best. I can link them down below in my Amazon storefront. I also have the Bobby linked there. We also used the Haka pump and the Medela hand pump. Those I would say are the #1, like you cannot live without these products. Maybe the Bobby, but the other 3 you definitely need to have. Also during that time, mama, as I know it's so hard to squeeze in a shower or to make yourself food or remember to drink water, but you really have to prioritize your nutrition and your hydration, especially hydration, because breastfeeding takes a huge toll on your body. It requires so much water and it requires so much nutrients from your food that you are intaking, and so that is something that I really prioritized. The first couple months is just, I had to eat. You have to eat. You're burning so many calories when you're breastfeeding, and if you don't drink enough water or eat enough, you will not be able to produce milk. That's something that I really had to learn the hard way, and something that I definitely know going forward that I need to prioritize even more. Okay, let's jump forward about another month. So when Nora was about 3 months old, we went through our first nursing strike. If you don't know what a nursing strike is, it's when your baby just refuses to nurse. They want the bottle, they don't want your boob, because a lot of times the bottle is easier to get milk out of. So that is what happened to us, and holy cow, you guys, it was hands down like the hardest part of our journey so far, was that part. That was the moment where I was like, you know what, if this is how it's gonna be, this is not worth it. Like, we should just I'll either start pumping, I don't know what we're gonna do, but we need to do something. And what had happened was we had started using the Dr. Brown's bottles again, and those bottles, their milk flow, at least the nipples we were using, are a lot easier than your boob. For your baby to get milk from your boob, it takes a lot of work. They have to really suck and they have to be patient. And with a bottle, it can oftentimes come a lot quicker, unless you do something called pace feeding. I will insert a graphic of what pace feeding is, but basically you mimic how milk comes out of the boob when you're breastfeeding. At first it's just like a teeny tiny little bit. Baby has to suck to get the milk to let down. When the milk lets down, they get more milk, kind of more like a bottle, and then it goes back to more of a lighter flow, and that repeats for each letdown that your baby is nursing for. We did not know about pace feeding before this. That is something I wish I knew about. So pace feeding is something that's really, really important. Also, we threw away those bottles. We got rid of the Dr. Brown's ones because they just did not work for our baby. If those bottles are working for you, I'm so happy for you. Us, no. The Komotomo bottles, those bottles, we use the 0 to 3 month nipple because that's the smallest nipple, the slowest flow nipple that they have. Those bottles, they have to really, really work hard to get the milk out, which is more like when a baby is breastfeeding. So combining the slower flow nipple with the pace feeding, that is probably the best way to mimic breastfeeding. If you are giving your baby, a breastfed baby, a bottle, like that is what you really should do to help them not prefer the bottle. When we went through this, we learned a couple of tricks. I actually am a part of a mom's group on Facebook, and I like posted and asked about this, and we got some really good advice. So what we did was we'd place Nora, like I was feeding her, I would hold her, and then we'd use the bottle to just drip a little bit of milk onto my nipple, and that would stimulate her to start nursing. So it'd kind of like trick her a little bit. We had to do that for honestly like a full 24 hours, and then we were able to get past it. So that is what we did. We read about that online, and that really helped. And then also at that same time, I really worked on increasing my supply, just because I think it probably was a little bit low, maybe due to stress or something. And the letdown was just taking longer than normal to get down, so Nora was getting frustrated. So I drank a ton of water. I drank a lot of coconut water. I also took, I will insert a picture, it's called Redmond Relight powder. That is what I noticed made a huge difference in my supply. I think because it's just jam-packed with electrolytes, real salt, it's just amazing. It is kind of expensive, but I would take that. I also tried the Body Armor drinks, like basically just anything that really focused on hydration. Oh, and another thing that I did to help increase my supply whenever I felt like that it needed a little boost is I would get Nora to sleep, how we normally just rock her to sleep, and then I would switch out her passy for my boob. And so I would let her be latched for her first like 10 minutes of her nap or so, depending if she like wanted to latch longer or not. And this is something that I would highly recommend, because I really do think that increased my supply, just because the more that you put your baby on your boob, the more milk you will produce, because milk supply is all supply and demand. And so the more that your baby is drinking, the more milk that your body is going to produce. And so this is something that I would do all of the time when I felt like my milk needed a little bit of a boost. So I feel like that was a lot of talking and a lot of information. I hope that it is helpful. To summarize what I wish I knew, basically is just how much work breastfeeding is. It is a literal full-time job if you time how many hours you spend breastfeeding, pumping, trying to make sure you maintain your supply, trying to increase your supply, all of that stuff. It is a full-time job, and I don't think I realized just how much work it was going to be. And so now we are at a point, basically for the last month and a half, 2 months, that things have been going really, really well. Things can obviously change. I'm a little bit scared to say that things are going well because I feel like I will jinx it, but just because the beginning of your journey is maybe rocky or hard, or you know, it's difficult and you need a lot of support, that is totally normal and common. And reach out to a lactation consultant near you. I know that they are amazing in helping. They can be if you find a really good one. I hope this came across in a way like it was just two friends having coffee and just talking about just the journey of breastfeeding. It is the most beautiful thing. It is the most hard thing. It is a full-time job that requires a lot of effort and time, and it is something that I am really grateful that I have been able to experience. And so I hope that you guys learned something new, or that this was encouraging for you if you're going through a rough patch in your journey, or I hope that it, you know, gave you some new ideas to try when you go through something that is hard and difficult. But just know that you are doing a really good job, mama. Like, no matter what your breastfeeding journey is or isn't, or can be or should be or whatever, you're doing a great job. And I wish I could have gone back and told myself that, and just know that, you know, in the end it's going to be okay whatever happens. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. Also make sure to subscribe so you can see more of our videos, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!